Matt, we're back with another video podcast.
Video podcast number two.
After
bravely inventing this format back in, I think it was last year or the start of this year?
Yeah, last year.
It was at some point in the last 12 months. Since we've invented the format of the video podcast.
It's taken the world by storm.
I've got to say, it's not all been good.
But it hasn't been good,
We've I think... Jonathan Roggan has been doing a lot of things that we're not sure about.
We're not sure about John Roggan.
Some of the guests, I think, overall, when you look at the chart of it, you go, I don't know, this seems like it's just overall maybe bad for society.
This guy seems like a bad dude.
Unfortunately, we've taken the genie out of the bottle box, and it means now we can't put the genie back in the bottle box. So the video podcast is out there. Will we be seen by history as villains? Or heroes?
I mean, we do get a 5% cut of every single video podcast that's made, so
yes, we do.
Probably the villains.
It's changed my life, I admit. I have swimming pools coming out of my ears at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with them.
Who knew the video podcast would be such a successful enterprise?
Honestly, the maintenance of all of these swimming pools, the chlorine, it's ruining me mentally.
What are we doing here?
Well, we're going to be talking about these small box games, all of which are from one publisher.
That publisher is called Playte. They're a little Korean publisher, and I want to say, first and foremost, this isn't like a sponsored video or anything.
No. I was going to say, it's kind of weird we're doing this, right?
It is very weird, and that's why it's a video podcast rather than a video.
Yeah.
Because it's odd, because firstly, it's odd that they're all from the same publisher.
Yep.
Secondly, it's kind of odd because not many of these games you can like readily get like all the time. They're going to be kind of hard to find.
For now.
Yeah, for now.
Because I think in the past we've made a video about like the top, our favourite of all the new Oink games, right? When they had a set of them, we'll like go through, play loads of them and rank them. And I think that was kind of acceptable because of the fact that at that point, like Oink were a kind of household name in the very niche household world that we live in, right? Of being like, oh, Oink, yeah.
Yes.
Whereas I think like there's something similar going on here, right? Like small boxes, interesting ideas, and I think it's one of those things where less people are familiar with Playte than they are Oink. And because of that, unfortunately, distribution's not great, but it takes people like us talking about these games.
Brave soldiers like us.
Well, it's the weird annoying thing. People are going to be miffed that they can't buy these, but at the same time, we need to talk about things so that then maybe people can buy them in the future.
Should we talk about the first one first?
Yes, please.
Linko. This is actually, as is a kind of common theme with some of these games, this is an older game, originally a German game from Amigo, and it was called Abluxen. And it had a fox on the front, and it looks bad.
She Abluxen on my fox. Linko. Linko. I'm just going to say... Milenko, this one. Linko.
It doesn't really work.
We can probably edit all of this out, can't we?
Yeah, probably.
So Linko is fantastic. You showed it to me a few months ago, saying you're going to like this, Matt. It's got like foxes on it.
And I was right.
And he was so right. Yes. Not because of the foxes, because it's just a very, very good, simple card game.
Yeah, it's lovely. And this production of it is real poppy and nice and colourful and fun. It's kind of like Scout. If you've played Scout before, you're going to be in familiar territory. You've got a whole bunch of cards. You're going to play them, these sets of cards, out onto the table in a little stack that's going to grow in front of you, because at the end of the game, every card in front of you is worth a point.
And point is bad?
Point's great.
Oh, points are good now.
But if you have a big stack of these cards, you're going to get loads of points. That's great. If you empty your hand, because your hand is worth negative points, so you're trying to empty your hand, play all your cards in front of you. But the big problem is that when you play out a little set, let's say I play 2 2s, if someone then plays another set of 2 cards, they play 2 5s, for example, your little stack of 2 2s is going to go. Either they can take those cards and put them in their hand, at which point you replenish from a little shared market, or you can say, actually, I'm going to put them back in my hand. And there's this interesting dance where you're trying to build up like bigger and bigger sets. Like a big set of low numbers is kind of great because it means that people are unlikely to be able to play that many cards at the same number, but also the low numbers are easily captured by higher numbers. It's kind of hard to explain why this is good, I think.
I think it has, it's in a tough position immediately because of the fact that you compare it to Scout.
Yeah.
And there are similarities.
There are.
At the same time, I feel like it's like, this heavy is the head that wears the crown, but heavier is the head that's trying to wear a hat that looks a bit like a crown in the presence of the person wearing the crown.
Yeah.
In fact, that Scout is so good that as soon as you go, there's similarities to Scout.
It's a Scout-like.
Oh, yeah? Well, is it as good as Scout?
It's good, like, but it's no Scout.
Yeah, and that's not fair, because what is these days? Scout, I think, might be one of the best games.
Yeah, it's a fantastic little poppy card game, but so is this.
This is great, and I think that, like, what I love about this is the way you have this fantastic arc in the same way as Scout of being like, should I be cocky or not? Like, should I try and build up some big unbeatable hand and then wank and then whack it down onto the table, and everyone else goes,
oh, that's huge?
Or is that silly? Am I going to end the game and go, I had this gigantic, huge run I could have played, but I never got a chance to do it, and now I've got all these bad points in my hand. This is delightful. It takes that element of the game and really amplifies it, because you don't know exactly when the round is going to end. Someone might have like 5 cards in hand, and you think, that's all right, but then maybe that 5, they're all the same cards, and they're about to play them and end it. So early on, it feels a little risky when someone plays like 5 2s, and you're like, I'm going to take them.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is a good idea.
Because that's a lot of points for you if you play them, and if the game doesn't end before you get a chance to do that.
But then later on, it's really tempting to be like, when someone starts picking up like handfuls of 7s, you're like, really? And
Are you sure?
And maybe they have an incredible plan, but maybe it's going to backfire on them.
Right.
And that choice of like, are they going to take them? Are they going to offer them back to me? Especially because the fact that they can say, I don't want them, and you can say, well, I'll have them back. Sometimes you get too complacent about that. And I've definitely had a few times where I'm like, they're not going to want them, so I'll get them back. And then they take them, and you're like, but those were mine. I needed them. I needed them back.
And then you end up with this hand that is just like gargantuan. It's full of like mistakes, because it's so easy to just be like, oh yeah, I'll take like a big set. That's going to be points if you get a chance to play them. And that's another really nice thing about this game, is you're putting these little cards in front of you in like a sort of laddered stack. And then let's say you're the top of your stack is like 2 5s. If someone captures those 2 5s by playing 2 6s, the next set that's in your stack is now the one that's on top and is therefore vulnerable. So there's this very nice dance of like trying to layer up like defenses. Like you play like a nice set of cards, and then you like whack a couple 13s on top of it, the highest card, to try and sort of secure them. But then the table's like, we're not having that, and they try and dig away at your defenses.
And somebody's like, I'm going to play higher than that, I'm going to play that, and then I'm going to take these, and trying to bury your points. It's just very, it's very immediate and very fun. And like, I think it's tough, because I think that is it's a hard act to follow with Scout, but I think as soon as you get close to being as good as that, you're a really good card game. And I think there's one thing I've learned, especially in the world of small box card games, it really isn't as simple as like, yes, but does it replace this?
No.
You know, it's like, it's not like, but is it better than Feast of Odin? Feast for Odin. It's like, you have lots of them. You have a bandolier of cards that you can splash onto the table. But I love this one. I think it is absolutely fabulous, and it's just a brilliant sort of bluffing puzzle with a bit of probability and way more hubris than anyone could humanly want.
We played tons of this at a recent convention. It was just like, every time it was like, you want to play a little bit of Linko? I was like, yeah, let's do it.
And because the cards are just pictures of foxes with numbers on them, like, yes, currently, the version we have is not in English, but it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter at all. It's just numbers.
Just numbers
and cards. We're done with you, Linko.
Goodbye.
We put you face down onto the table. Face up.
What's next in our firing squad?
We've got 2 games you can choose from. Look, we're going backwards into the ranks. Should we talk about Tonga Bonga?
I feel like if in the headcanon I've got here now, because you've put these out in a kind of like a V shape, I'm going traditional tournament rules, and I'm like, it means if we choose Tonga Bonga, does that mean
Cash a Catch goes
all
in the bin?
All of this is out, like, and then it's these ones? Let's go with Tonga Bonga.
Let's go with Tonga Bonga. We can advance it. We can put it on top of Linko in the little stack. Look at that. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, standing on the corpse of its brother.
Tonga Bonga is ridiculous. I've never seen a game produce such varied reactions as Tonga Bonga, because it's weird, and it's mean, and it's very funny.
It's silly and mean.
So it's a negotiation game mixed with a racing game. You are sailors trying to...
I mean, carry on. But I think, I don't think it is a negotiation game, really. It's an implicit negotiation game. But the thing is, you turn everything into a negotiation game, and I respect that, and I think it's brilliant. But I think that at the same time, it isn't implicitly a negotiation game. It's a manipulation game.
Okay, I think that makes sense. Yeah, it's not a game where you're like necessarily making deals, but you are doing a bit of like player politicking as to like who's in first and trying to kind of kingmake around them and that kind of thing.
It's enticing other people to help you, basically. So there is. But often this can be done silently via the medium of coins.
Of money.
And looking around the room and going,
as I believe most negotiation is conducted.
You can just put some money on the table and go,
and they go,
oh yes, I would like that. And then you go, negotiation complete.
So basically, it's kind of a race game mixed with this implicit negotiation game. You are sailors trying to race around this archipelago of islands on the board. The first person to get to all of the islands is going to end the game.
Yep.
Not necessarily are they going to win it.
No.
The way this game works is really kind of fascinating. You have these little ships in front of you, and all you're going to do is at the start of the round, you're going to put some money on each of the little spaces atop the ship, which is essentially bribes, suggesting that other players would place their dice onto those spaces.
Yeah, you're putting up paid openings.
Yeah,
you're being
exactly.
like, I've got 2 spaces on this ship. I'm looking for a captain and I'm looking for a first mate, both of whom are going to get paid.
Yep.
And then everyone rolls their dice, and you then place those pips on the slots.
Yeah, and if your dice is on that slot with the little money on it at the end of the round, you're going to cash that money in, so you're going to get some cash for placing your dice on certain spots.
And then the person who gets the dice is going to get to use the pips on those dice to move their boat around.
Lovely.
So you basically want to get people to give you high value dice to your boat, so that then you can shoot your boat off into the sea, off to these islands, get all these bonuses, win the race, win the game. But
you can't put dice on your own boat, so
Nope.
you have to entice other people, and other people might sort of like form a blockade against you if you're in first.
it's possible. Yes.
Yeah. So you could be out there putting like huge like little bribes on your spaces, being like, hey, if you go on this first space, you're going to get a whole bunch of money. But people might around the table go, well, but you're way out
You've
there.
got so much money.
You've got so much money. I'm just going to put a little 1 on your little ship, and it's going to go nowhere.
Yeah.
And that's where this very interesting dance on the dice game comes in, because you go in this very specific prescriptive turn order each round, and if you put, like, let's say, I think a 5 is the highest value.
Yes.
And you'll put the 5 onto a space, and you'll sort of say that, well, I'm going to win this round. But if someone goes later in the turn, they have the same value dice, you get nudged off that space. You
Or a
get
higher
demoted
value.
down.
So
or a higher value,
So there's a
indeed.
weird, like, it is like you're saying blockade. It's
Yeah.
almost like, unions and being a scam. And the fact that, like, somebody might have put, let's say they've put like 8 coins for the captain's role on this boat, and then everyone else is like, nah, forget about them, and someone's put down a 1 and someone else put down a 1, and you're like, I'm just going to pop a 3 on there though, because I've only got a 3 and I want that money. Because the funny thing about this is you have these 3 slots maximum for dice, but the person in the 3rd slot gets no money at all.
Nothing at all.
It's only the 1st and the 2nd.
Yes.
Which means nudging people out of those slots feels fantastic, because you're like, you know what, you played a 5, I'm going to play a 5 as well, and now I'm getting like 4 more coins than you did. However, it also means that the player who have activated this bidding war is getting so much movement and trying to have that middle ground of going, look, I know you want that money, but don't go there because ABC is a really lovely little wrinkle. And then also there's a bit of unknowability in the fact that when you roll these dice, one of the things you could roll is like a seasick sailor.
Yep, a guy having a little puke off the side of the boat.
That one can't be put on a boat, which means you might have rounds where there are just fewer dice going around, and everyone's already put their wages out there, and then other people are basically going hungry or being like, well, come to my boat, please, please come to my boat.
Some of the stuff that's so funny that sort of begins to happen over the course of the game is you might have a player who's like offering nothing on their boat, but you are the last player and your dice are going to have to go on their boat. Well, at that point, you can spend money for rerolls, and sometimes you'll spend money for rerolls because you want higher numbers to boot people off and get more cash, but sometimes you're rerolling so you can get the seasick sailors so you don't have to put any movement on their boat, which is delightful.
There's a lot of space, but then I do like the way that you can't go full negotiation with it because of the fact that, like, once you've put those coins on those slots, you can't alter them later. You can't be like, oh, actually, no, I'm gonna put more on, and then you can't have that back and forth. It's just a very flat, like, these are the offers. Is it worth it? And I really like that decision of like choosing what coin amounts to put on them and why. Like, do you just put a lot of coins on both of the 2 slots because you think, I just need people, I don't care?
Your whole boat's real enticing, but that's going to be real expensive.
Or do you just put a lot on the first one, the captain, and then not so much on the second one, knowing that people are going to like vie for that top one, which means you might get like loads of 5s in that slot. But then also having that understanding of how much does it seem like you are in the lead, and then how much of a extra bit of money do you need to offer for people not to be like, screw you? You know, it's like a really interesting economic puzzle of like, at what point should I just accept that people aren't going to use my things rather than trying to lose money?
Yeah. And we should also explain the fact that at the end of the game, it's not just who gets to the last island that immediately wins. It's not all about the movement. At the end of the game, it's whoever has the most money wins.
Yes.
So you can burn huge amounts of capital to try and get loads of fast movements, and you will get that, you'll get a return on investment. Every time you visit an island, you get a little cash injection.
What I love
it might not be enough.
What I love about the islands is the fact that, yes, you have to go to all the different islands, then come home to finish the game.
Yes.
Every time you land on an island, you get 25 gold immediately.
Yeah.
Wow.
Incredible.
So much money. But unfortunately, the first person to get to an island, nothing else. That's it. 25.
You just get all that money.
That's
Lovely.
incredible.
Yeah.
After that, when you arrive at an island, for every other player that has a flag there, you must give them 5 coins.
Yes.
Which means, if you're playing with like 4 people, it might mean that you're like, yes, I got 25, and I have to then lose 15 of that, and that 15 goes to other people.
Yep.
So you do have this lovely, silly, like it feels like wacky races in a way at the start of everyone just shoots off in different directions. And because you have these spaces on the board that are like wins that give you a little bonus boost, or like treasure chests that give you just some money. Ooh.
And the fact that your ships they don't block each other's movement, but they slow you down.
Yes.
So the turn order becomes really important, where you can sort of jam yourself in a specific space and not let anyone through.
Yes.
It's just, there's a lot to love in this, like, really, like, it's just so silly.
You have this thing of like, do you want to just go off in a different direction completely and go to your own islands? But then if you do that, and everyone else goes in one succession, then it's like, well, that's not good for them because they're all competing to be first to the island. But it means when you do finally get to the islands that they're all going to, there's so many flags on them.
You're getting nothing.
It feels like you're constantly going, It's deeply silly, deeply wonderful. I think it's one of my favorite like family weight games I've played in a while.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that the box, this crazy contraption, unfolds to be the board.
Yeah.
It's like the 2 parts of it stick together magnetically, and so you just take the box apart, and then the box is gone, and the box is now the board.
And it's a delightful feature.
It's a magic trick.
It's also one that if I don't play it for a while, I can never remember how it goes back.
I can never get it back together again. No, it's like a cursed feature, because I'm like, it's so cool, look at this, and I show someone, and then I try and put it back together again. I'm like, I don't remember how to do this, because it's like you don't have the box anymore.
Yes.
You've just got these pirate maps and dice, and you're like, how do I? I need an adult.
It's so funny because you'll be watching someone trying assembling it from the other side of the table, and you go, "Oh, it can't be that hard. Give me that." And then immediately you're like, "Oh, how does it work?"
Once you've worked it out, though,
it's pretty simple.
You'll be like a magician, because we talk a lot about games where you can just get them out and set them up and go. But I think you'd be like, "Oh, you're interested in playing this game?" But I think especially if you just
unfold a box,
get it out and quietly just start assembling a box, and it becomes a pirate map. That's the point where you don't even have to say to people, "Would you like to play a game?" People will be like, "What just happened? How did you do that?"
It's so funny. Like the first time we were playing it, you were like, "Where's the box?" And I'm like, "Here we go."
Yeah, right.
Da 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 da. Just crunch it all together.
Fail to work out how it goes back together again. No, I think it's truly delightful. It's one of those ones where after we played it, I was kind of aghast to realize that we couldn't just immediately get a copy of it because it wasn't super available anywhere. So hopefully,
sorry about this curse.
Yeah, sorry. Hopefully, this broad Tonga Bonga love that I'm throwing out into the world now is gonna
manifest more copies.
Manifest more.
Next up on our little journey is this little game called Cash a Catch, which you haven't played.
I have not,
but I have played.
Is this about selling fish?
Yes.
Great.
It's going to be a very brief excursion into this one because I played it like a while ago and you haven't played it. And so it's just going to be a very brief, this is really like stupid, is basically. Essentially what you have is it's an auction game where you slowly reveal fish cards from this deck. And then you've got this pot that's sort of gradually sweetening as you add more and more cards with delicious sweet fish on the middle of the table.
Sweetening the pot with more fish. I've had this stew recipe before and it doesn't land.
And at any point, someone can say, "I want that pile," and they ding a little bell. And when you ding the bell, you get everything in the pile for 10 money. It's always 10 money to buy everything in the pile. And then that's it. You're just building up these little collections of fish.
I like that.
Yeah, that you can eventually cash in later on for maybe more than 10 money, but probably not more than 10 money because you're terrible at business. The thing that's interesting about this game, though, is so you're stacking up these little fish in your little freezers in front of you, but then before an auction, the auctioneer can say, "Actually, I would like to sell my fish," and they will sell the entirety of one of their stacks for however much it's worth. But when that happens, everyone's fish around the table go off a little bit, and they lose the most valuable fish in their stacks. And so it's this very interesting puzzle where you're, not puzzle, making it sound like it's like an intelligent, thinky game. It's not. It's slapping a bell and trying to make a big set, but then being dismayed when the whole table conspires against you and they sell fish that aren't very good just to diminish your massive stack of fish that you've been gathering for like 6 rounds in a row, and suddenly it's all rotten and worth nothing.
That sounds brilliant.
Yeah, that's it. That's all. I just wanted to say that it's like good and dumb.
And I'm not always a big fan of a game with a gimmick, unless it's a game with a gimmick in a very small, fun box. And then it's like, fine. Brilliant.
Yeah.
This does feel like the sort of thing you'd have to keep away and hide from small children, though, because if they found that bell, your life's going to change.
Ding, 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 ding.
That bell is their bell now.
Yes.
And
It's also one of the kinds of games that I'd say, like, it's for a very particular group. I played it with one particular person who knows who they are, who absolutely hated this game. You know who this person is.
I mean, I can guess. I mean, I get it. I get it. There's something about the simplicity I like here. The fact that you are not doing maths because it's just 10.
It's always 10. It's always 10. And everyone's hovering their hand just above the bell. And it's a real, like, when most people go for it at the same time, you will be injured. It's that kind of game. And so if you're the kind of person who, like, hears this description of a game where you slap a bell,
you're sweetening the fish pot.
Yeah.
You're making your friends' goods go rotten. And you're trying to touch a bell as quickly as you can. I mean, it sounds like a really good party game, Tom.
Yeah. It's daft. It's silly. And I like it. Changing gears a little bit here, Matt. Should we talk about 2 games at once in a kind of deduction corner?
Oh, what? Okay, yes, that's fine.
Yeah. So recently there's been a lot of hype around Orapa Mine.
I was going to say, is it Orapa Mine or Drapamine?
I think it's Orapa.
Because if it's Drapamine, it sounds a bit like Dramamine.
Drapamine.
Orapa Mine.
Orapa Mine. I don't really know what that means.
Orapa Mine?
It's a little game
I
where...
hardly knew it.
It's a little deduction game that I will pair in this little deduction corner with Digit Code, another little deduction game from Play. These are both very like quiet, pensive little pencil and paper games.
Head down, pencil up.
Yeah. Just have
Scribble,
a little thing.
scribble.
We listened to some nice relaxing music while we played these, and it really fit the bill.
Yeah, and they both feel like they're reimaginings of like Battleship in a weird way.
Yeah,
like, you are just basically asking, in both games, you're mostly asking coordinates, really.
Yeah.
And then taking down notes and trying to make deductions based on that.
Exactly. We'll start with Orapa Mine because I think it's the most easy to explain in terms of what you're doing. It's like you're sort of using ultrasound to search for minerals in the ground. And the way you do this is that each player has a little board that has these sort of minerals, which are kind of like chunky wooden shapes that they put on it. And then you're trying to work out the position of where those things are without seeing them. Well, how do you deduce where they are? You send little laser beams.
Yeah, that's it. It's not really, I mean, ultrasonic lasers, maybe they're called. I don't know. Like, it's not really how ultrasound works. Like, it's like, it's lasers, it's lines.
Although signals may return abnormally, as experts, we will ultimately find the gems, as we always have.
As we always have and we always will. There's always money in the gems, I swear.
Basically, you're firing a little laser from one of the edges of the board, and then it will bounce back off of the different shapes that are kind of hidden in this fog.
Yeah.
All the information you will get is what color it is when it returns and where it returns from. So you can kind of deduce what kind of objects it's hit on its little travel.
Yeah, so it's like if you fire a laser in and it comes back like white, and it comes back, you say, I'm going to fire it into O, and it comes back out of O, then there's a good chance that it just bounced off one flat line. It just went straight in, hit a white object, and then bounced
straight back out. Yeah.
But not necessarily. It's like, it's kind of possible that it could have bounced off a white thing,
and then another
white thing, and then bounced back.
Yeah.
Because basically it's all dealing with 45-degree angles or flat lines.
Yes.
And what's interesting is that when you hit multiple things, though, you get different colors. So you say this came out like a yellow.
Yeah.
Or like a lemon.
This came out an orange.
An orange. And like, it's very fun to go, oh, okay, I've hit 2 things here.
Yeah.
I found this one really, really pleasant and also really easy. I was expecting it to be like a really difficult puzzle when actually it was like the deduction of it was very satisfying and very simple, especially following on from Digit Code where the deduction was slightly hellish. And I really, really like the fact that it's such a pleasingly physical thing of getting to put these little colourful shapes in.
Yeah, and you're like tracing the line. You can kind of like, it feels like it's theme. Like you can follow that little line and go boop, and then you follow it back. And it feels like you're getting these little pings from this. And the way that like we had different techniques of how we were sort of blocking out space. But I was like shading them in to be like, there's just nothing here. It's traveling right through this empty space. And then when it hits something, it feels like, well, there's a wall somewhere here, but you can't work out the depth of it. So you have to kind of cross-reference it with another thing. It's a very pleasing process.
I had a lot of fun just drawing the lines on.
Yeah.
Because, the good thing about a laser is it's like, it doesn't really matter which direction it's going. But I really did enjoy as well, like the deduction of making guesses later in the game and the fact that I kind of go, okay, well, I know this object is around here. I know there must be a red shape somewhere
in this
here.
region,
But then realizing I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter. Like if I fire but then I'm going, no, it does matter. Like because if I fire the laser from this side of the board, I will learn more information than on this side of the board. Because I already know that if it's here, I know where it will bounce and what it will bounce into.
And there's like a lovely like testing hypotheses thing where you're like, well, if what I think is correct, I can bounce this laser off where I know this white shape is, and then it'll hit the red, so it should come out pink, and then your opponent goes, it comes out blue, and you're like, what?
Yeah. I just really enjoyed the way you can really start to like take shots into the dark in a very exciting way, of rather than being like, I'm just trying to get one piece of information, which is usually the deduction game thing. In this, you could really start to gamify it in the fact that it's not a very big grid, and the rules for placement means after you've made a few guesses and got a bit of information, there's not that much space left on the board where things can be. And then you get smart in terms of going, well, I'm gonna, you're almost like firing lasers knowing that you're going to hopefully bounce off multiple things, and trying to work out like what the perspective. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was like, it was very simple on the surface, but then the ability to kind of like big brain it was there.
It's like at the end I had this like, it was one turn between us on the deduction, and I knew that the little thing was in a little square of space as it could be, but the orientation was really messing me up. And that's like, it fits the theme. Like, something has to be there, but like you have to like actually like prove it by firing something in there.
It's really fun. I liked it a lot, and I love that you get the little like harder mode versions which have the transparent pieces that like basically will like bounce the laser but not change the color of it at all.
Just to mess with your calculations.
Really mess with people. And then the jet black ones that effectively will just eat the laser.
It just absorbs the signal and you just lose it.
Doesn't come back. No laser came back, sorry.
Real fun.
I really, really like this one. And it's funny because actually like we talked about both of these, and I think you much prefer Digit Code.
I much prefer Digit Code.
I much prefer Orapa Mine. I much prefer this. But like, I really like Digit Code too.
Should we talk about Digit Code?
Yeah, let's do it.
You're trying to work out a 6-digit number. Oh, it's one for dweebs.
It is for dweebs.
You're working out a specific number that your opponent has written down in the kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, but like the almost LCD display. Is that what they are?
Yeah.
It's old style alarm clock display. Analog. That's what I'm looking for.
It's like an LCD display of like a calculator or a clock.
Yes.
Like basically the number is made up of like potentially like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 7.
7.
I was just trying to count. It's hard to count.
7 different.
7 different lines.
You did a great job on counting there.
Really didn't. I counted them all and then added like another 2. I think it kept throwing me because I kept being like, well, how many are there when it's all filled in? And the answer is 8. Because when it's all filled in, it's 8. That's the number.
Yeah. But it's not. There's only 7 segments. How they do that though?
I know, right?
Crazy.
What? But yeah, it's interesting in the fact that basically then you go, okay, well, if you are literally just looking for the presence of those individual lines, there's 7 different lines that can make up so many numbers. Calculators and old computer, how do they do? But then you have 6 of these numbers, so it becomes like, again, like a grid.
Yes.
So you go, how many lines are in like the top like vertical section,
row,
and these are all like labeled as like A, B, C, letters and stuff. So you can just go, give me K. And
that'll tell you like how many of the bottom segments of these digits are filled in the whole row.
Yes.
So you're trying to sort of gradually like chip away at what the numbers possibly can be, and using the sort of powers of deduction there. And you can ask other things like, is one number bigger than its neighbor or smaller than its neighbor? You can ask for a very specific section of a number. But obviously that's like a big, like for an action, you're not getting much info.
Yeah, you can just be like, can you please tell me if this one is filled in or not, like specifically.
Yeah, and using that
huge.
Yes, but it's you need to know
a whole turn
exactly which one you're going for.
I went really big brain when we played this, and I was trying not to do that because again, you can also ask if a number in a space is odd or even.
Yeah,
which is pretty huge information.
It gives you like it cuts out 50% of the possibilities, right?
Yeah,
immediately.
Because I mean, I think there's some interesting stuff using. It's funny because they're numbers, but they're not numbers. They may as well just be shapes. The fact they're numbers is completely irrelevant. But it does make you realize that, like I got lucky at one point and I asked you, I think I said, what's in G?
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, it's 4, which I'm like, that's great. That means in that column, both those numbers have the left side of it completely full.
Yeah.
And then looking at the selection of stuff, I'm like, well, there's not many numbers it can be.
Yeah.
Like, it must be like, you've got 6, you've got
8, 0.
And you've also got 0. The problem is I didn't see 0 and I was like 6 and 8. And for whatever reason, I decided
you were locked in on that.
0. I think because I was just doing it based on the numbers and I was trying to like Sudoku it without asking any other questions.
Yeah, you were just asking rows and columns. That was all you asked for like the whole game.
Yep. And I was trying to big brain it, and I almost did, but then I made a miscalculation and completely goofed it.
Yeah. There was a point at which I was really worried that I'd like written something down wrong and had to just scrap my entire sheet and just start from the beginning again. But luckily there was one thing it could be. And it's the itch of it is like when you find that one little like hook. Like you do a few and you're just sort of like, it's same with Orapa Mine as well.
Yep.
Like your first few are just like shots in the dark. But then when you hit something, it's like you sort of gradually unpick from there. And I find there's this really pleasing spread where you start in I always start in the bottom left corner, and then like you slowly like bleed out into the other numbers until you can kind of narrow it down to like one of two possibilities.
And it's funny because it does have that like Sudoku feel, I think, of like when I was trying to work it out, it was that I had all these numbers for like the columns and rows. I feel like if you really big brain it, you can guess like way earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
And that was like,
it's very tempting, isn't it?
It was so tempting, and I was trying to do that, and I could feel the fumes coming out of my ears.
Yeah, because if you guess right, you just like win the game instantly. And so it's like, if you can make that leap and do it a little bit faster than your opponent, it's like every guess is like a little bit of efficiency lost.
Yes.
But I think both of these are very like sharp, very solitary in a way, like they're puzzles. They say on the box 2 to 5 players. They're not for 2 to 5 players. They're for 2 players. Finally, Matt. Was that intimidating?
No.
Did you like that? Oh,
shoot. Are you trying to be intimidating?
No, I
was going to say, like...
I wasn't trying to be intimidating.
Don't intimidate me. That's mean.
These two are just going to get a little shout out at the end. These are both just like nice little treats for if you like these kinds of games. I'm just going to tack them on at the end as things you might like. This is just a nice version of Can't Stop. Classic push your luck game where you're trying to get to the top of a little mountain, and if you do it well, then you are the winner.
It is a fantastic game.
It's lovely.
It's just lovely to see it in a box that size, because that's the size of box it should be in.
Exactly. And it's one of those ones that folds out into a little triangular mountain. Look at that. A little triangular mountain.
Charmed, I'm sure.
Really, really cute.
Mr. Bond.
And then finally, Mino Dice, Mino Dice, Mind Dice is just really silly. This is a trick-taking game, but with dice. You roll a bunch of dice, you try and bid on how many you reckon you're going to win. It's got these sort of layers of Trump suits going on that make things a little silly. If you've played Skull King or Wizard or games like that...
I have. I've played them both with you. You know this, Tom.
Yeah.
You're talking to them. I forgot there was someone else in here. Kevin, how do you keep doing this?
It's basically like one of those style trick takers, but instead of having cards with concrete values on, you have dice that have random numbers on. And so there's a really nice sort of like hubris, push your luck element of bidding big, thinking that you're just going to be lucky this round, but no.
Oh, so you make the bids before you roll the dice?
Yeah, like in a trick taking game, you make the bids before you play the hand.
Oh, okay, yeah, you decide how many things yeah. Okay.
It's very daft. It's a very, very silly little game. I don't recommend it to people who like classic card games. I do recommend it to people who think they might one day like a game where they chuck dice and scream at each other.
I like the idea of being like, if you like classic card games, you might enjoy dice.
If you like classic card games, you might enjoy not having this game near you.
Yeah.
It's just a very, very daft little dice game. And I also want to give a little shout out to some of the other games that are on Playte's website. They've got a wonderful version of Big Shot, a classic Alex Randolph bidding game that we talked about on a podcast ages ago.
Yep.
That has you taking horrible loans, getting into nasty debt, and generally just laughing at each other. It feels really silly that it's called Big Shot because you feel like a very, very small shot.
You feel like a tiny chump.
A tiny little chump. And they also have a wonderful version of a game called Mahé, also by Alex Randolph, where you're little turtles going around an island, trying to hop on each other, pushing your luck a little bit. It's really good and
Hashtag
really
relatable content.
Anyway, that's all these Playte games. Like I say, it's not a sponsored video or anything. I just really like these games.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd summarize them in a video that's hopefully not going to annoy too many people because they're not that available.
Well, it's fine. I think if we did this as like in the same way we'd done the Oink one and like going through and racing them all and recommending them, then that would be really annoying.
Yeah.
Like, oh, by the way, you can't get any of these. But hopefully the format change makes that obvious. And hey, hopefully in the future,
be available.
we'll have a similar, I think, the quality and consistency of this stuff. Like, I'd love to see this stuff more widely available, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to do that kind of video.
Yeah. And if you're at a convention, they might be around and you can pick some up there. That's
Keep
also
your
true.
eyes peeled.
Keep your eyes peeled. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thank you for supporting the video podcast format.
We'll try and make sure that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands again.
Unless it falls into the wrong hands and they have to buy us another swimming pool.
Yeah. If it falls into the wrong hands, but the hands have a lot of money in them,
then
maybe that's okay.
Then that's fine.
Yeah. Bye.
Goodbye.